What is up, nerds, geeks, and gamers? It's Rage, and today I'm making pork chops with all gratin potatoes, and as a nice little treat, I'm also going to be making some Betty Crocker fudge brownies. Woo! Um, as you can see, I already pre-seasoned my pork chops. I just used plain seasoning salt. I did use a fork to poke holes in them. I find it makes the meat a little more tender. And we're also going to be marinating the pork chops for a couple hours. At minimum, you want to marinate for about an hour. Uh, but these will probably marinate for like 2 or 3. We're going to be using McCormick Grill Mate brown sugar bourbon. I don't think I've had this particular flavor before, but I've had other McCormick packets, and they all taste pretty good. So you're going to want to follow the directions on the back of your flavoring packet. This one calls for a fourth cup of oil, a fourth cup of water, and 2 tablespoons of apple cider or white vinegar. And you're also going to want to get yourself a bag that you can use to put the marinade flavoring in and the pork chops. You want to make sure you have a big enough bag to fit it all. And the brand of all gratin doesn't really matter. I have Idahoan brand. I love all gratin potatoes myself. Don't know about you guys, but first time I ever had all gratin potatoes was actually in preschool. Used to be one of the 5 things they'd make every week. Try not to make too much of a mess, but I would recommend closing the bag, getting it like this, and just squeezing it around so that way all the spices and stuff can get absorbed into that mixture. And you know, it doesn't really look like a lot, to be honest, but I promise you this is going to be enough for the pork chops. I didn't mention it, but these are thick cut pork chops. You can do thin, doesn't really matter. Uh, Obviously, the time to cook changes a little bit, but other than that, it doesn't matter. Alright, so now that that's done, make sure you mix it around as good as you can so every pork chop gets a little bit of that marinade on it as best as possible. And towards the end, you kind of want to try and separate them in the bag. You can lay it down a little bit. I like the way that looks. Not as airtight as I would have liked it to be, but I also didn't want to let anything spill out. So you can either just put it in your fridge like that or get a plate or something. I myself am going to get a plate because you never know if there's a hole or something in the bag you're using. And I'd prefer if it didn't leak out onto my fridge. Doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but covering most of it, especially the most sauce-ridden part of the marinade bag. And then we just go ahead and put it in the fridge. So I did my best to make sure I didn't accidentally touch the raw meat or anything, but I'm still going to wash my hands just in case before moving on to the brownies. Alright, the brownies themselves are straightforward. I mean, I really do hope you guys know how to make Betty Crocker brownies. They're delicious, and I'd feel pretty bad for you if you couldn't or have never had them. So get the brownie mix and open the bag, and then get a bowl and dump it in there and follow the directions on the back. It'll tell you exactly what to do. This particular type of brownie, the fudge brownie, needs a 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, 2 tablespoons of water, and 1 egg. Make sure to beat your mixture of brownie mix thoroughly. And I don't know about you guys, but I personally, if there's enough left over, like to eat some of the batter. Supposedly you'll get salmonella from it, but I never have and I never will because my immune system is made in America. Hell yeah. No, but seriously, I've probably been eating like raw eggs for multiple years. Like cookie dough, brownie mixture. Uh, my dad has an old Russian friend who convinced me to try a raw egg one time. Not very good, I'll tell you that. Okay. Looks nice and thoroughly combined in my opinion. Probably about as good as I'm gonna get it. So now we get our 13 by 9 pan. I use glass. And you're gonna pour a little bit of oil in there, making sure not to hit the edge. Well, up to you, I guess. I personally have never really noticed the difference between not doing the edge and doing the edge. And we also, when I make brownies, I tend to get pretty hard edges. So a little trick I learned online was that you can cook at a lower temperature, like 25, 50 degrees lower than you're supposed to. Obviously, it takes longer, but so far, every time I've done it, the edges have been softer than normal, which personally I prefer because if it gets too hard, it's just not fun to eat. It doesn't taste that good. Um, so I would personally recommend cooking at a lower temperature than recommended, just doing it for longer. And now that you've greased the pan, you probably should have done this earlier, but I'm stupid. I forgot to preheat the oven, and I'm gonna preheat it to 300 instead of 350. Go ahead and pour your mixture into your glass pan. Make sure you do your best to try and get it to spread out a little bit. I'd say grab yourself a spoon or a spatula of some sort and spread it out. Now that you've done the best you can to spread it evenly, I think mine looks pretty good. I'm still going to move it around just a little bit, just to make sure, for sure. And now we just wait for the oven to come up to temperature. While you wait for your for your oven to preheat, feel free to take some time and put away all the ingredients that you don't need anymore. Alright, it's been 27 minutes and now it's time to check the brownies. I'm wondering if, due to how thin they are, if they might actually be done already. Sadly, I don't have a toothpick, so I have to use a fork. And you know, I think I'm going to give it another 2-ish minutes, and then they'll be done for sure. It has been 2 minutes, so now we just take it out and let it cool. Let me show you them. Look at these delicious looking brownies. I can't wait to munch into them. Alright, it's been about 2 hours that the pork chops have been marinating, so take them out of the fridge. Obviously, you can leave them in longer. I had to take them out after 2 hours since I have work tomorrow, and I can't afford to let the pork chops marinate forever. After you take the pork chops out, also take out everything you're gonna need to make your au gratin potatoes. The au gratin potatoes calls for water and milk and butter. So I pulled out a stick of butter and my gallon of milk. I myself am going to be cooking them on the stovetop. You can also cook them in the oven or in the microwave as well. Up to you, really. Um, Obviously, for the au gratins, you just want to follow the directions on the back. For the pork chops, go ahead and turn on your pan. Make sure you take out a pan and saucepan for your pork chops and au gratin. I'm going to put it on medium-ish heat for the pork chops, and then for the au gratins, I need to add the milk and the water and the butter, and then boil it with the potatoes in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Add the potatoes. Your au gratins should take longer than your pork chops, which is why I'm getting the au gratin potatoes ready first. Okay, and you're gonna want to stir that a couple times. Bring to a boil, and then turn it down to a simmer, and let it simmer for about 15-20 minutes. As for the pork chops, your pan should be heated by now, so you can just add them to the pan. I can add 5 of my 6 pork chops, so I'm gonna let the pork chops cook and the au gratins, and I'll be back when they're done. Alright, so it's been about 5 minutes. I figured I'd show you guys what it's starting to look like. The pork chops are looking pretty good. You know, I like the way they're looking. They got way saucier. I'm not sure what the heck happened. If maybe it's because the pork chops themselves have a lot of liquid inside them. But I'm really liking the way they're looking. They smell delicious. As for the au gratins, the butter fully melted. It got to a boil, so I'm turning it down so it can simmer. And the sauce is starting to thicken up just a little bit. So, you know you're on the right track when your food's looking like this. Hopefully, another 10-15 minutes and everything will be done. Alright, it's definitely been longer than the 10-20 minutes that I said it would be. But dinner's done now. Let me go ahead and show ya. Your au gratin mixture, your sauce should be pretty thick like this. And you'll notice when you do it that the liquid will still be a little more liquidy, a little more like water, but it thickens up real quick after you turn off the heat. And like, I don't know if the steam is getting picked up or not, but there's still a lot of steam coming off of it, despite it having been turned off for something like 5 minutes now. And I ended up having to turn the heat down for the pork chops since it was too high, and you know, obviously, as you can see, shit was starting to burn to the pan. But now it's all done. Go ahead and pour all the sauce that you can onto your pork chops. And you're basically done. Grab yourself a couple heaping spoonfuls of your au gratin potatoes, and you're done. Now you have a delicious meal that was pretty easy to cook, and you can make enough to last you for dinner and lunch, or dinner, lunch, and dinner. You know, depending on how many pork chops you make and how many au gratins you make. But this looks like it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you guys chose to make this, if you used the same brown sugar bourbon packet that I did, or if you chose something different, and if you liked it or not. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification to get notified when I go live or release a video. It really helps me out and makes me more motivated to continue streaming and making YouTube videos and stuff like that. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Peace.